Hello everyone, today let's solve the problem number 196, delete duplicate emails, right? So what the question states here, we are given a person table with ID as the primary key. You can clearly see here, we are given a person table with ID as this one, primary key, and the unique email column. You can clearly see here, unique email column, where ID is of the type integer and email is of the type varchar, right? So we need to delete all the duplicate emails, keeping only the row with the smallest ID for each email. So we need to delete all the duplicate emails. This one we have to keep in mind. Just keep this in mind. We need to delete all the duplicate emails. That's what the question states. What we have to do, keeping only the row with the smallest ID for the each email. So we have to keep the email which has the smallest ID and we have to delete all other duplicate emails. That's what we need to do. So that's what the question states here, right? So I hope the question is completely clear. So let's come to the example. Let's discuss example 1 so that we understand this one correctly. Then let's move on with the approach and then let's write the query. Now let's discuss the first example that they have given in the question. So here we have been given the person table here, right, and the input. So we can clearly observe here John @example.com appears on ID1 and ID3, sorry. It appears twice here. So it appears in ID1 and ID3. So here, since this is appearing twice, this one, John @example.com. So ID equals 1 is the smallest, right? So ID equals 1 is the smallest. Accordingly, with the question, we have to delete the other IDs other than the smallest ID. We have to keep the smallest ID and we have to delete all other this one, right? Emails with the other respective IDs, right? So here in this case, we will delete this one. We will be deleting this one, right? So we will entirely delete this one. So here this one remains unchanged. So John @example.com, this one remains unchanged, and this one remains unchanged as well. So this one, Bob @example.com. After deleting, this one remains unchanged because duplicate is not found for Bob @example.com at all, right? So this one and this one we will return as output. So John @example.com and Bob @example.com. These two we will return in the email column, right? So these two we will return in the email column. So I hope the question is completely clear, simple to understand, right? So here they have clearly mentioned in the explanation, John @example.com is repeated 2 times. So we keep the row with the smallest ID equals 1. That's what they have given, right? So I hope the question is completely clear, right? I hope the question is completely clear. Now let's discuss the approach first and then let's write the query. So here let's discuss the approach step by step. First step here is we'll be going with the self join. So we'll be going with the self join. We will self join the person table on email. So just give me a second. We will self join here in this case. We will self join the person table on email. Why we are doing that one? Because we have to find the duplicates, right? So we have to find the duplicate emails here. That is the reason we will be going with the self join. We will self join the person table on email, right? So this is the first step. This is the important step. So let's move on with the second step here. We will keep only the row with the smallest ID. So they have clearly mentioned in the question that we have to keep only the smallest ID. That is the reason we'll keep only the row with the smallest ID and delete all others, and we will be deleting all others. So when I said we will delete all others, so you would have already guessed that we will be making use of the delete keyword, right? So we'll be making use of the delete keyword that is provided by the SQL. You would have already guessed. If you would have guessed, that is the correct thing. We'll be making use of the delete keyword, right? So we will keep only the row with the smallest ID and delete all others, right? So let's move on with the third step here. We will be making use P1 ID greater than P2 ID. So why we'll be making use of this one? Basically, we have to delete the rows where ID is greater than the smallest one. Apart from the smallest ID, if the duplicate is found, apart from the smallest ID, then we have to delete all the IDs with a particular row, right? So we saw in the example something this one, John @example.com, I believe. John @example.com was repeated twice, 1 and 3, with the IDs 1 and 3, right? So we deleted 3 because it was greater than 1. So 3 is obviously greater than 1, right? That is the reason we deleted 3 and we kept 1 as it is, right? John@example.com email remained unchanged with the exam with the id 1, right? So with the id 1, so that's what we'll be doing. So here we will be making use of p1.id greater than p2.id to delete rows where the id is greater than the smallest one, where the id is greater than the smallest one. This is very, very important, right? This is very, very important. So these are the 3 steps that we'll be following. This is the approach that we will be going with. I hope the approach is completely clear. I hope the approach is completely clear in this case, right? So as we are familiar with the approach now, it will be easier to write the query. Now let's start writing the. First, what we will do, we will delete p1 from person p1. Nothing but we are deleting the rows from person table alias p1 right here. So let me give here delete p1 from person here p1. This is fine. So this is mainly coming from the person table, right, alias p1. This is fine. So the next step here is we have to join the person p2 as well. So we have to join the person table with itself. We have already discussed this one in the approach. For that one, we'll be making use of the join keyword here. So same thing, person p2 alias p2 here in this case. So we have to match the duplicate emails in p1 and p2. So we have made use of p1 and p2. So we have to match the duplicate. Duplicate emails, right? With a particular row. So in our case, in the example, 1 and 3 got matched here. In this case, 1 john@example.com, 3 john@example.com. So this one we have to match. So what we will do here in this case, we will go with on p1.email equals p2.email. So we will go with p1.id greater than p2.id. So this is fine. So this is it for the query. Let me hit the run button, right? So here in this case, in the line number 6, what we did here is so we were checking whether it matches the duplicate emails in p1 and p2 or not. And p1.id greater than p2.id, we have already discussed this one in the approach. Again, I'll tell, we are ensuring whether p1 only includes the rows where id is greater than the id of another row with the same email. So here in this case, we are ensuring only 1 remains in the output table here. So 3 should be deleted. We have to ensure that the id 3 entire row should be deleted and only this row should remain, right? That's what we need to ensure. That's what we are ensuring by making use of and p1.id greater than p2.id, right? So I hope this is clear. You can clearly see here the sample test case is getting passed. So let me hit the submit button quickly. So here in this case, you can clearly see all the test cases are getting passed. Means the query works absolutely correct in this case. I hope whatever the query that we have written is completely clear as well. For now, this is it. Thanks for watching, guys.